It was a crisp autumn evening when Emma, Julia, and Anna decided to embark on a weekend adventure to the Pinecrest Hostel. Nestled deep in the woods, the hostel had an eerie reputation that intrigued the three friends. Little did they know that their choice would lead them into a nightmare they could never forget. As they arrived at Pinecrest, they were greeted by a weathered building that seemed to exude an unsettling atmosphere. The hostel's owner, an elderly man named Mr. Turner, greeted them with a peculiar smile. His eyes held secrets, and his voice sent shivers down their spines as he showed them to their room. The room was dimly lit, with old wooden bunk beds and creaky floorboards. Emma, always the fearless one, joked about the place being haunted. Julia laughed nervously, while Anna, the most superstitious of the trio, felt a growing unease. That night, they settled into their beds, with Emma on the top bunk, Julia in the middle, and Anna on the bottom. The wind outside howled, making the ancient trees surrounding the hostel sway ominously. Sleep was elusive, as the girls felt an inexplicable sense of dread. Around midnight, they were awakened by a series of strange noises. Julia sat up, her heart pounding, and whispered, "Did you hear that?" Emma nodded, wide-eyed. "It sounded like footsteps, right?" Anna shushed them, trying to convince herself it was just their imagination. But as they lay there in the darkness, the footsteps grew louder, echoing through the corridor outside their room. Terrified, the girls decided to investigate. They grabbed their flashlights and ventured into the hallway. The hostel seemed different at night, bathed in an eerie moonlight that cast long, unsettling shadows. As they crept down the hall, the footsteps led them to a locked door at the end. Emma tried the knob, and to their astonishment, it turned easily. The door creaked open, revealing a hidden room, untouched for decades. Inside, they found an old journal with entries dating back to the early 1900s. The writings spoke of strange occurrences and mysterious disappearances at Pinecrest Hostel. Anna's hands trembled as she read aloud an entry about a girl named Eliza who had vanished without a trace. Their investigation was interrupted by a chilling breeze that seemed to materialize from thin air. The hostel's lights flickered, and the room grew colder. Julia screamed, and the door slammed shut behind them, trapping them in darkness. Panic set in as they fumbled for the flashlight. In its beam, they saw faint apparitions of ghostly figures, their eyes hollow and longing. Emma, desperate to escape, pushed against the door with all her might, finally forcing it open. They sprinted back to their room and barricaded themselves inside. The rest of the night was a blur of terror. The footsteps continued, strange whispers filled the air, and the temperature fluctuated wildly. They clung to each other, praying for dawn to break. When morning finally came, they packed their bags and fled Pinecrest Hostel, leaving behind the haunted room and its malevolent secrets. They never spoke of that night to anyone, each of them haunted by the horrifying experience. Years later, Emma, Julia, and Anna are still friends, forever bound by the chilling ordeal at Pinecrest Hostel. They know that some mysteries are best left untouched, and that not all hostels are meant for a peaceful night's sleep. Leon had always been an adventurous traveler, seeking thrills in the unknown. Little did he know that one fateful night in a remote hostel would turn into a bone-chilling experience that he would never forget. It was a stormy evening when Leon checked into Hostel El Diablo, a centuries-old building nestled in the heart of a quaint European town. The hostel had a reputation for being eerie, but Leon dismissed it as mere superstition. He was assigned room 13, a dimly lit, creaky space with a view of the eerie, fog-covered woods beyond the window. As night fell and the storm raged outside, Leon couldn't help but feel an eerie presence in the room. The wind howled, and the wooden beams above his head seemed to groan in agony. Leon shook it off as his imagination running wild. He couldn't have been more wrong. Around midnight, a strange, guttural whisper woke him from a deep slumber. Leon's heart raced as he realized he was alone in the room. The whisper seemed to emanate from a dark corner. With trembling hands, he turned on the bedside lamp, revealing nothing out of the ordinary. Just an old, wooden chair and a dusty mirror. Leon tried to calm his nerves by convincing himself it was a dream. He switched off the light and settled back into bed. But the whisper returned, stronger this time, as if it was right beside him. He felt an icy breath on his neck. Terrified, he reached for the lamp, but it wouldn't turn on. Panic surged through Leon as he fumbled for his phone. Its dim screen cast an eerie glow over the room. He scanned the room, and in the mirror, he saw it, a shadowy figure standing behind him. Leon's scream pierced the silence of the night as he spun around, but the figure vanished into thin air. He rushed out of the room, down the creaking stairs, and into the hostel's common area. There, he found the night manager, a grizzled old man named Victor, who seemed unsurprised by Leon's terror. "You've met her, haven't you?" Victor said with a knowing look. "Met who? What's going on?" Leon stammered. Victor sighed. "Room 13 has a dark history. A woman named Eliza died here under mysterious circumstances many years ago. People say her spirit still lingers, tormenting those who stay in that room." Leon was skeptical but desperate for answers. "How do I get rid of her?" Victor explained that some guests had tried various rituals and exorcisms over the years, but nothing seemed to work. The only advice he could offer was to leave the room and never return. Leon heeded the advice and checked out of the hostel immediately. He found another place to stay for the night, where he finally felt safe. But the memory of that haunted room haunted him for the rest of his life. The experience left Leon a changed man, forever scarred by the encounter with Eliza's restless spirit. He never laughed off superstitions again, knowing that some stories held a chilling truth. The hostel's legend of Room 13 became a tale he would share with others, a warning to those who dared to seek adventure in the unknown. To this day, the Hostel El Diablo stands, with Room 13 locked and abandoned, a silent testament to the horrors that still reside within its walls, waiting for the next unsuspecting traveler to cross its threshold. Olivia and Daniel had always been avid travelers, seeking unique experiences in every corner of the world. On a backpacking adventure through Eastern Europe, they stumbled upon a quaint hostel nestled deep within the Carpathian Mountains. Little did they know that their stay at this remote lodge would become a terrifying tale they'd never forget. The hostel was a picturesque wooden building, surrounded by dense forest, and seemed like the perfect retreat from their bustling city lives. The owner, an elderly woman named Eliza, welcomed them warmly, though her eyes held a hint of sadness that Olivia and Daniel couldn't quite place. They were assigned Room 7, a dimly lit space with creaking wooden floors and a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. But it was late, and they were tired from their long journey, so they didn't think much of it. As they settled into their beds, Olivia noticed a peculiar painting on the wall, a sinister-looking woman with piercing eyes, whose gaze seemed to follow them. The first night passed without incident, but the second night was a different story. At precisely 3 a.m., Olivia awoke to a chilling sensation. The room had grown ice-cold, and she could see her breath in the air. She nudged Daniel, who was deep in slumber, but he didn't stir. Suddenly, Olivia noticed a shadowy figure at the foot of their bed. It was the woman from the painting. Her malevolent eyes locked onto Olivia. Frozen with fear, Olivia watched as the woman extended a bony finger, beckoning her to follow. Unable to resist the compulsion, Olivia slowly slipped out of bed, leaving a sleeping Daniel behind. She followed the ghostly figure through a series of winding corridors, each more decrepit than the last. The air grew thick with an otherworldly chill, and Olivia felt a sense of foreboding that tightened around her chest. The ghostly woman led Olivia to a hidden chamber in the depths of the hostel. The room was filled with old, dusty books, their pages filled with cryptic symbols and strange incantations. Olivia's heart raced as she realized she was trapped in a nightmare, unable to escape the ghost's sinister grasp. Meanwhile, Daniel awoke to find Olivia missing. Panic set in as he searched the dimly lit hostel, his voice echoing through the empty corridors. Eliza, the hostel owner, appeared, her eyes wide with fear. "You must leave this place now," she urged Daniel. "The woman in room 7, she's been haunting this hostel for centuries." As Daniel tried to comprehend the situation, Olivia stumbled back into their room, her face drained of color. She was trembling, and her eyes held a vacant stare. "The room. The woman. She showed me things," Olivia whispered, her voice trembling. Without hesitation, Daniel packed their bags and they left the hostel, never looking back. The encounter left them shaken and forever scarred by the horrors they had witnessed. To this day, Olivia and Daniel share their terrifying ordeal, warning others to steer clear of the hostel in the Carpathian Mountains. The memories of that fateful night still haunt their dreams, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unsuspecting places.